Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in our local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest. Hey, welcome to Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young. I'm joined today with Brandon Davis. I'm so happy to be back and talking to you so that we can share stories of local business owners, leaders in our community, and be able to share their story of what's going on. Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Andy.
Well, you know, we're sitting here in your brand new office right now. So if you've missed out, Brandon just opened a new office here in Lebanon, Virginia. Has been doing real estate for a while.
Yes, sir. About 5 years now.
But we, it's a new office. There's a few real estate offices in town. In fact, we can look across the street. There's another one. But you guys are doing stuff different.
Absolutely.
I've got to ask you, because with real estate, there's a lot of people that get out and that they decide that, hey, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna give it a shot. You've been doing this 5 years. You've stuck around. What is it that you're doing that's different?
For me, I think that one of the biggest things in real estate is exactly like you said. A lot of people get started. They think they're going to make a ton of money right out of the gate. And real estate just does not work that way. Like when you come into real estate, you really have to commit. You have to invest in your business, invest in yourself. And so for that first year, whenever I joined real estate and got my license, I had just committed, all right, I'm going to put in X amount of dollars to start my business, and I'm going to fight in the industry to be able to help myself grow and set myself apart. And one of the biggest ways, Andy, that I've done that is marketing. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later, more in detail. But branding yourself and marketing yourself and standing out in the market is absolutely key to being successful. And I think for me, my marketing has definitely helped.
Well, I know it got my attention because when we first moved to town, I saw you on the billboard. And then I had to go to the grocery store, and as I was pushing my cart around, you were staring at me the whole time from the grocery cart. So you've put yourself out there to get attention, and it works. It obviously is a different way of doing that. And it's not just attention for you, it's attention for your clients. So, when you do a listing, I know I've worked with people in the past that I've talked to that they said, I'm trying to sell my house. And, I'm trying to figure out how long is that going to take. And I just had some clients up in Tazewell that they were lucky enough that they were moving to West Virginia and they needed to sell their house. I was like, listen, here's the good news for you. Right now, there's not a whole lot that's out there. So if somebody's looking for something, you're one of the few that's there to be able to get. They did sell their house. They got premium on it too, which was fantastic for them. But when you're going right now and you have people that are out there wanting to list a home, what does that look like right now?
Well, to me, it's not changed a whole lot, to be honest with you. So we are still in a situation to where there are tons of buyers out there, but there are very few listings. And I think that comes into play in a lot of ways, but the inventory is very low because houses have not been built around here to keep up with the demand. And you have to think, like this generation coming up now, like there's a ton of them, and they're finally at the age to where they're wanting to buy houses, and there's just not enough out there. So when things come on the market, it really is all-out war for them to bid against these houses to be able to get them. And it's continued to do that, even with interest rates being higher. Now, obviously in November, December, things typically do slow down a little bit around the holidays, and then right after it starts to pick up. So I do think we're starting to see that a little bit, but houses are still selling really quickly in comparison to what they did a few years ago.
I can remember when I listed my home for sale here in town. This would have been 2014. And it was here in main area of downtown, and I was moving, so we already had another bill that we were paying. And I thought, okay, this won't be bad. They said, hey, limited inventory. We already got somebody that's lined up. 7 months later, we closed on somebody buying the house. So it was a huge burden with that. So being able to turn something around quickly for a lot of people matters with that. And if you're seeing right now that inventory is lower, it's not just that somebody's going to grab it because it's there. So
exactly.
You all go through and you do some special stuff when it comes to marketing. We're not going to share all the secret sauce with that, but If you have somebody that's looking to sell a house, what is it? What are some of the steps that you're taking to make sure that not only they sell the house, but they can get the most that they possibly can out of it?
Absolutely. So, one thing that I will say is, regardless of the price of the house, whether we are talking a $30,000 piece of land or a house, or a $500,000 house, they're all treated the same. Like, that is one huge thing about our firm, and that I've always stuck with. I think every single house, every single client is treated exactly the same. But one of the biggest things that we do is we go out whenever we get a call or somebody reaches out and they ask us to come out and look at their house. One of the biggest things that we do is we go out, we walk through the property, we talk to the owner, we get to understand kind of a little bit about the property, the nuances of it. And not only that, but a lot of agents will immediately say, all right, let's put it on the market, let's take pictures, let's go ahead and do this. That's not how we operate. What we do is we give you honest feedback, because I believe that's why you're hiring us as a professional, is you want our honest feedback. The way that you list a house and live in it are totally different. So, for instance, you want your house to look like a retail showroom whenever somebody comes into it. You don't want them to see Andy living there anymore. You want them to be able to see their self living there. So one thing is like remove personal pictures and just things like that. We actually give you a very detailed marketing plan that we come up with after we walk through room by room to tell you these are the things that we recommend. Not only that, we actually a lot of times will go out and help make sure that it's ready and do those things before our professional photographer comes out to photograph the property. But by doing that, the house will sell quicker and for more money, and we see it time and time and time again, and it's proven that it works.
Well, I've seen it before with people that they'll list a house, and you can tell it's the kids' bedrooms because it's pink or blue. It's got a big name on the wall. If you're going there, you're not seeing you in the house. You're still seeing
Right.
the current owners. So it is very, very different when you can say, okay, not only are they there, I can remember people saying, like, you don't want to walk into an empty home.
Right.
Not just that you're staging it, but that you're walking through and you're painting pictures for people. Hey, I can definitely see it. The dining room table's here. You're having friends over. You've got the wine that you're pouring. We've got the barbecue rolling outside. The guys are all. So you're painting a picture. You're story selling for people as they're coming in to see this home, which is different than just saying, okay, well, here's the kitchen. The dining room's over there. You might want to move it to this other room. So
Right.
it's you're able to go through and have this energy of what you're explaining as you go from room to room to room. Now, most people when they're doing real estate, they have some ideas, it seems, of what they think is important. But I always think of like Joe Dirt. That's not you; it's the consumer.
Right. Right.
So for you with marketing, this has been something that you've been passionate about for a while.
Absolutely.
With your background, having a master's when it comes to marketing, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So you're taking that knowledge and being able to train the rest of the people that work here to take. Listen, it's not going to be a King MBA for them with that, but they're still going to be able to go through and say, okay, what knowledge can I glean from this? So you've got people that are kind of lined up that they're wanting to come in and work with you simply because of the extra effort that you're going through to be able to train them and develop so that they can get even better in what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So you got into this 5 years ago and still have a fantastic relationship with the broker that you came in with,
Absolutely.
correct?
He was actually at our ribbon cutting, so it was awesome. His name is Travis Dyson with Landmark Realty, and Travis was always very supportive of me. So whenever I first started working with Travis a few years ago, we had that conversation, and Travis and I have worked together for 15 plus years in corporate America before we both got into real estate. And whenever I joined his team, one of the first conversations that we had was, this probably is not going to be forever. And he said, you're a go-getter. I know you're an entrepreneur. Like, ultimately, you're going to have your own business. There's no doubt about it. But in a lot of cases, like, brokers and individuals, like when people move on, there's tension or whatever. With us, we have an amazing friendship still. Travis actually helped me get started, like documents and stuff. He's like, Brendan, anything you need, I'm here. I want to see you successful. And last week, when we had a ribbon cutting, him and his wife were here, and they actually were right behind us as we were cutting the ribbon. It doesn't have to be cutthroat. Like, we can absolutely work together, and that's that's a huge partnership that is very important to me for us to continue to maintain.
Well, it's a small town, right?
Yes.
And Southwest Virginia, you guys are selling homes all over the place, not just here in Russell County, but throughout the region. And it's very easy for somebody to say, "Oh, well, they start putting other people down. They start to go through, and then they realize pretty quickly they box themselves into a corner because they need that other person to help them out to get a closing across the finish line."
Right, exactly.
Now, you mentioned earlier with interest rates. As we record this, we're coming off of COVID. Hopefully, COVID is gone. We're not going to have a rise back here with the winter, but interest rates have kind of taken it on the chin when it comes to people looking to buy homes. And we've had some previous episodes where we've talked about mortgages and things going on. But right now, for you, as you're going through, how does that play into when you're marketing stuff?
Really, as far as marketing, I can't honestly say that I've done a lot with interest rates, because what I have truly seen in the whole interest rate scenario is people are realizing we want to buy, we have to buy, we have to move. Life goes on regardless of what the interest rates are. I mean, yes, it's tough. Like going from what, 2.25 or whatever. Well, actually, I even heard of some just under 2 a couple of years ago, to 8% now. Like, it's a major difference. But I think the biggest thing is people are realizing life goes on and we have to move on anyways.
Yep.
And I mean, rent has, skyrocketed too. So it really, I mean, either way you go, it's expensive. So I think people have just decided we're going anyways. But as far as marketing, I really have not done a lot with interest rates.
I know for the clients that I work with that as we go through, to your point, people said life goes on. Yeah. I'm not going to wait 3, 5, 7 years to see, are they going to come back down? Mm-hmm. Instead, I've realized, hey, this is the house. This is I need to move, whether it's for job or they just need more space. And that a lot of times that it's saying, okay, listen, let's go ahead, let's get it locked in. And then in the future, if they pull back, we can always refinance.
Absolutely.
We can always go through, we can refinance at that point in time. Is it going to hurt that we paid some extra interest? Well, it would probably hurt a whole lot more if you wait and that you regret that, hey, we could have bought that, but we didn't.
Well, not only that, but housing prices are still going up. So, I mean, you've got both of those scenarios. I mean, and I've also heard a lot of people say, and I won't say that I'm the one who coined this, but marry the house, don't marry the interest rate. And I've heard that quite a bit lately. And it really is true. You can always refinance later on if it does go down.
Well, we'll have people continue to refinance even into retirement sometimes because they go, I don't want to hold on to this payment. So here's a little tidbit. Your kids don't want your house. When most people pass away, the kids don't want the house; they sell it. So the fact if it's paid off or not paid off, that really only matters to you as a person. I've seen so many people that they're so worried about that of passing on a paid-for house. The kids are going to sell it. Don't worry. But when we go through and we're trying to figure that out, being able to take advantage of the market and what's going on right now. You mentioned with the limited inventory. Mm-hmm. So because of that, we've got to make sure that we're taking that into account with the challenges of not only listing it, but being able to kind of have a bidders war. Absolutely. When it comes to this, and making sure that you're navigating your client through of not just leaping at the first thing that comes to them, mm-hmm. Of knowing that, hey, there's some other opportunities here. So you've opened a business. You've went from working under someone to now you are the person with that as the broker of Cedar Group. So as we're looking at this, what challenges, when you were trying to look at this, that you said, hey, I might do this, what were some of the challenges that you've initially had to overcome?
Andy, I would love to tell you that we had challenges. And there are always challenges in anything. But I'm just going to tell you, like, when things are right, they're right. And when they're not, they're not. And this truly, like, it really fell into place. I look back at it, even just trying to find a space. Where I wanted to be in town was very strategic. I wanted to be right on Main Street. I wanted to make sure that we had visibility and people knew where we were, because there's a ton of advertising value in that. I made a phone call to a local attorney who I know very well. I said, hey, do you know of any space in the area? He said, give me 5 minutes. Literally, I got a call back 5 minutes later. He was like, I know the building. It's being renovated. You still have the option to pick paint colors and stuff. He's like, it's a perfect spot for you. And so that literally fell into place. The agents who came over, it literally just fell into place the way all of that came into play. we've really not had a lot of challenges so far. Like, knock on wood, I know that day will come, but so far it's really fell into place, and I'm very thankful for that.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but when I'm not doing amazing interviews like what you're listening to or watching right now on YouTube, I'm working with people every single day to help improve their financial lives. You know, a lot of people come to me with questions about how can they retire on time, when should they take Social Security, or just are they on track in general with their finances. Down below in the show notes, you'll find information to be able to help see how you're tracking towards retirement with our 90-second retirement readiness quiz, or maybe you're just wanting to see what can you do to get on track, whether that's paying down debt, student loans, or just trying to figure out, am I making the right decisions every single day? Well, if that's you, click down below so that you can utilize those resources and improve your own financial journey. Now, back to the show. Now, as a business owner, obviously that you've got some people standing behind you that kind of lift you up as well. So all of us have those relationships that are important to you to be able to get you to this point and carry you through. What are some of those relationships for you?
Definitely my wife, first and foremost. I mean, she puts up with me all the time and my crazy ideas. Before we started this, I was telling Andy, you know, a lot of times I go to bed at midnight. I'm up at 6 a.m. You know, I'm very dedicated. There's a lot of times at 11 o'clock at night, I'm working on marketing, coming up with ideas. 6 a.m., I'm working on contracts, just getting stuff together. And also, I have twin girls, so stay very busy there. But my wife was definitely key in this and helping me get started, you know, and encouraging me. Travis, like I said, I mean, that was huge. That's really unheard of to have your, you know, your broker and your competitor per se really supporting you and helping you grow. But I thought that was huge. Attorneys, you know, in town have been phenomenal to work with. And definitely Mike, the building owner here, has been amazing to help me.
So with your experience of going through now, that we've had a lot of people that have helped you get to this point, what are some of the opportunities that you see moving forward that are going to help launch and grow this firm even more?
I think one of the biggest things is to continue to build partnerships with all these businesses in town. I think as a small business owner, I'm a director on the Chamber of Commerce too, which I think is key at building all of those partnerships and not working against each other, but helping each other and just putting our name out there. You know, we very strategically, when we designed our logo and all of that, we went very clean, modern. Like, we wanted that image to be ingrained in your head. We wanted you guys to be able to say, hey, there's Cedar Realty Group by just seeing our logo. Just like you would Kia or Ford or, you know, Chevy, any of those. If you see the Chevy bow tie, you know it's Chevy. So that's our goal, is that people would see our logo and they know it's us. We want to stand out, you know, with our marketing and all of that, like we've talked a lot about now, but just really standing out. And I think that's the key to longevity, is just standing out, staying consistent. I think consistency is key, and just staying steadfast with it.
Well, it matters when we look at it as with any business, of being able to set yourself apart and be different. I've had somebody that I've talked to that they said, listen, there's only one place to get a Big Mac, but you can get a hamburger a lot of places. So if you can set that apart, you can differentiate that. You say, how is this different? It's not just selling a house; it's an experience. You know, whether it's listing a home, buying a home that you all have listed, it should be an enjoyable experience for somebody. That should be one of the most joyful moments for a lot of people. Will be your largest purchase as far as for your entire lifetime. If you say, okay, you're going to sign over $300,000 and you're going to pay on it for the next 30 years. It's a pretty big commitment.
Absolutely.
So having somebody that can guide you through, that it's not just their first time of doing it, that they have experience that they can guide you through, matters. Because I can remember when I bought my first house, I reached out to the first person that I knew that sold houses.
Right.
And that was a hard process. And I was getting, at that point in time, papers, because nothing was DocuSign at that point. I mean, I was getting like encyclopedia bound that is like, just sign all these places. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much. What is this?
Right.
Like, why am I having to go through? Who cares about this stuff? And it's like, well, we got to make sure for, you know, all these different things, and it's all these checks and balances. And for me, I was buying from a private seller as opposed to somebody that was being represented.
So it's even harder.
So it was even harder.
Yeah.
So it really mattered that the person I had was on my side to be able to go through. So if you've got that person right now, if you're on the fence that you're trying to figure out, hey, should I be selling my house right now? Should I be buying my house right now? How does somebody get a hold of you to be able to get some information to guide them through and see what the next steps might be?
Yeah, I mean, most people just give us a call. They'll reach out and I'll be happy to share my information with you. But most people will just give us a call, send us an email, reach out, and that's how it starts. It's just a conversation. One big thing about me is I'm not a pushy person. Like you think sales, like when you drive onto a car lot, people flock to you and they're trying to sell you that car, but that's not who we are. Like yes, we want to sell. That's how we, earn a living. That's how we grow our business. But at the end of the day, just like you said, we want our clients to be happy. We want to be able to answer their questions. And it really starts with just a conversation like you and I are having right now. And at the end of the call, maybe you decide that it's not the right time for you to sell or to buy, or maybe it is. We will give you the steps of this is what we recommend that you do first, second, third to be able to get, started. A lot of people when they're buying don't even know, what do I do to start? Like, how do I even buy a house? The first step is getting pre-qualified. If you're not paying cash, which most of us are not, then get pre-qualified. That way you know how much you can spend and that you're going to be able to buy that house and you can make an offer. Well, how do you get pre-qualified? Give us a call. We'll talk through it. We have, a list of lenders that our folks have used in the past and been very successful with, so we can give you all that. With selling, same thing. We can have that conversation of let us come out and look at it. Let's have a real conversation and talk about things that you may or may not need to do to get the home ready for the market. And let us do a comparative market analysis for you. I get calls all the time where people say, what do you think I could sell it for? On the phone, I'm going to be honest, I can't answer that question. I need to be able to see the property. And then the way that we come up with a recommended value is what's called a comparative market analysis. And we sit down at our computer, just like an appraiser would, after we've seen your house, and I know, you have stainless steel appliances, you have granite countertops, you just put a new roof on your house, all of those things, then I come back to the office and I look to see what is sold in the last, I try to do 3 to 6 months that's comparable to your property. And then that gives us, an idea of, we believe that, based on the market conditions that your house would be valued at, whatever it is. And that's where we would recommend that you list. Ultimately, it's your house, and we, within reason, will do what you want as far as pricing, but we will definitely have that conversation.
It's interesting to me if you pull up Zillow or Realtor.com and you can see when somebody prices it wrong.
Yes.
And you can see
Yes.
multiple drops, and if it's tens of thousands of dollars that it has dropped over time, and you go, wow, that was a swing and a miss. I don't know.
And you don't want that, because the second that you do that and you start seeing those drops, people immediately in their mind start thinking, what is wrong with that house? You have to hit the market at the right price. Has to be done correctly as far as all of your marketing, all of your photography, all of that. If you miss any of those pieces, it significantly impacts how long it's on the market and what it ultimately sells for. And that's why you need to hire, expert realtors. And that's where I believe we stand out in the market.
I think that it's easy to tell that you guys are professional, that you're going through, that you put time into your craft. It's not just a hobby.
Absolutely.
It's not just a on the side, hey, we're going to sell some houses. We decided. No, you guys are putting time and effort in to be able to make sure that for your clients that you're going through and you're helping guide them through this process, which you're trying to make it as painless as possible so that they can enjoy it, whether it's that they're buying the house or selling the house, and get on to the next phase of life.
Exactly.
And then hopefully refer to a lot of other people that, hey, when you need help, you reach out to Brandon and the team so that they can go through, because it was so awesome.
And that is our best marketing piece. Like any small business, any business in general, word of mouth is the best thing. And even with that, I know you didn't ask the question, but I'll tell you, like year 3 to 4, it was like magic. Things started to change, and it was like people started coming to me organically because I helped so and so 2 years ago, or they were sitting around a table and they started having that conversation of, hey, I had to sell my parents' house when they passed away or whatever. It was a tough time, but Brina did a great job with it. Word of mouth will either help you tremendously or it will kill your business. And so that's one big reason why we handle all our transactions extremely carefully, because it does matter. Like the details in every single piece matter. And just like you were talking a few minutes ago about, just the whole process, how hard it can be, how many papers that you had to sign and go through and all of that, at the end of the transaction, what I want you to look back and say is, that was so easy. Like, why, that seemed effortless. To you, it is. Behind the scenes, as agents, we're making calls to other realtors trying to make sure things are staying on track. We're reaching out to the attorney's office and the titling company and the lender and working all those pieces out behind the scenes. And it's not that we keep anything from you, because absolutely we tell you when you need to know stuff, but those little details where we have to pick up the phone at 6 p.m. at night and we're talking to a lender at late in the evening because they had a question or something got messed up or whatever, and you have that conversation to clear it up, that way your client doesn't have to deal with that. That's exactly what you want, because at the end of the day, it matters when you close. There's so many pieces to play, and we're almost like the master putting the pieces together in the puzzle. And I think that's why I love this career so much, because you're really trying to help them put all the pieces together and make it work at the end of the day.
Well, I know from my side, as far as working with somebody and you financially, people don't like to talk about finances, right? It's kind of, you've been trained from when you were really little, you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about finances.
Right.
But when we, you probably, with this that we've got going on with the election, you probably shouldn't talk about politics either. Right. As we record this, tomorrow is election day. I can't wait for it to be over. But if we look at that we go through, people don't feel comfortable sharing with all those things. But if they have somebody that can guide them through, that they can ask the right questions, because it's not just kind of like running down a checklist. It's asking the right questions to get to the end result.
Exactly.
So if you can go through and you can have somebody that's experienced, that's been there, done that, they've seen it 100 times over, it's so much easier than if it's the first time that they get thrown a curveball and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. The lender's asking for this. I don't even know what it is.
Right.
Versus you can say, oh, no problem. Yeah, I got you. To you, you're just saying no problem. To the client, they're freaking out.
Right.
Because it's the first time that they've ever heard it. And you're like, this happens like 9 out of 10 times. Not a big deal.
Right. Exactly. But, I also think when you're having that conversation with them, to them in that moment, it's extremely urgent and they care about it, and you have to treat it that way. Like, to me, yes, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, we're good, we're going to close, this is not a problem. But to them, like, you have to kind of nurture that and talk to them and talk them off the ledge and explain to them in detail, this is what's going to happen, this is what this is. And that gives them that comfort level of, A, Brennan knows what he's doing, and B, we're going to be okay, like, we've got this.
Yeah.
I just had a client, the guy who does my barber, who I love dearly, he's amazing, but I just sold him a house, and it was a tough transaction. Like, I will tell you, it is probably one of the toughest ones I've had, and it was truly, a lot of things came into factor with that one, but along the way, him and I had multiple conversations, and I would say, listen, this is going to be okay, this is an issue. For instance, we had a titling issue with it. I was able to explain to him exactly what that titling issue was, how the attorney's office was going to clear it up, and what the next steps were going to be, and what the impact was. And I think that was key. And at the end of the day, his wife was a baker, and she tried to bake me a cake, so it worked. But anyways, they're in their house now, and it worked out great.
That's awesome. Well, Brandon, I really appreciate you joining us today and being able to go through and share some of your background of what got you here, some of what sets you guys apart as people are looking to buy or sell a home, and if somebody's looking to become an agent, kind of how you nurture somebody through that process.
Absolutely.
But as we're leaving, if you were to go back 5 years ago, as you were first starting into this industry, what advice would you give yourself?
The one thing that I will tell you is it is extremely key to partner with the right broker. It is not all about, like, don't just go with, I would love for you to work for me, but don't just go with the first broker that you meet. Sit down, have a conversation with them, make sure that it's a good fit and that it works for you. There are amazing brokers out there, but not everybody's going to mesh well together and give you exactly what you need to get you to where you need to be. And I think that's where the key is partnering with the right broker, being at the right firm, building the right right relationships. And I think for me, that's, what got me to where I am.
Great information. Relationships are key for anybody.
Absolutely.
That as you're watching this right now, whatever industry you're in, knowing the relationships that you make every single day with clients, with other people within your industry or outside, that's really what's going to carry you through. I know for my grandfather, we owned an auto parts store growing up that he started when he retired off the railroad at 37.
Okay.
And he worked that until the day that he died. But there were so many people that I met years after he had passed away that would still talk about, I can't believe I could call Chafin up and he would come in, he would open up the store and get me the part that I needed on a Saturday at 8:00 at night. And my dad and my uncle would still do the same thing even after he passed. That those people, that mattered to them because they would get home from the mines or get home from their job and they needed to do something, but nothing was open.
Right.
I can guarantee you, if you show up at Walmart and it's closed, nobody's going to come open it for you. Nothing against Walmart, but there's a difference when it comes to that hometown feel and as you're going through. So as we move forward and kind of throughout the end of this year into next, know that those relationships that you're going to make are going to make or break you.
Absolutely.
With that. Well, Brandon, thanks so much again for joining us. I appreciate your time as we go through. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Dream Achievers as we've launched this every single Wednesday so that you can get more information about how to improve your business, how to improve your finances, and how to do amazing things like Brandon and his team are doing here. Until next time, this is Andy Young signing off. This has been an M3 Marketing and Media production.